Welcome, thank you. So, over to the floor. Do we have any questions on any aspect of this afternoon's talks?
Yeah. So there was one of the slides there where you were talking about, I can't remember, it was the spread, I think. No, it was the difference in mortality rates. The difference in mortality rates. And you said it was higher with DLB than it was with AD. Is there an age factor in that? There must be. So, meaning that typically DLB patients are maybe 80, whereas AD can be diagnosed younger.
Yeah. So we look. So the interesting thing, and there's a lot about that data set I haven't talked about, but we got our 250 DLBs, and their mean age was 80. And then we randomly selected 250 ADs from the database, and their mean age was 80. Exactly the same. So we didn't actually have to match for age. We did match for age because we couldn't be sure within each strata of age the groups were absolutely matched. So we did actually control for age. There's a strong age effect on mortality, of course, but it wasn't responsible for this twofold difference.
Can I ask a question related to that? So there is previous, as you said, there's previous little literature in Japanese about increased death rates in DLB, and it was due to falls predominantly. So when you exclude comorbidity, did you exclude falls, or could falling have been a major explanation?
Yeah, so I mean, we didn't exclude comorbidity. We tried to measure it using one of the kind of scales, and falls and other symptoms are things we want to look at, but this is kind of first cut of the data. Yeah.
So that would be my guess. One of the contributing factors, I think, is hospital instability and falling and fatalising of falling.
So yeah, no, I mean, so one of the things you can do because we're in silos in the NHS. That's one of the problems. So our mental health trust records don't talk to anybody else, but we are going to find a way of linking them with hospital episode statistics, which can actually be done. So to answer very much questions like this, so in other words, do the DLBs end up falling, fracturing hips, entering hospital, and the ADs don't?
Okay. Any other questions? We've got a question in the middle, please.
I had a question related to whether there was much research going on in relation to sort of non-pharmacological support for people with Lewy body, because I'm aware whilst all of these things are very important, and obviously the earlier we get something that will modify disease progression or help people's symptoms, but in the meantime, whilst NHS and social care resources are being stretched, I think the more we can demonstrate that it is cost effective to actually support people to prevent hospital admissions, care home admissions, keep people at home for longer. And I was just wondering whether there was still much focus on, or whether there was much going on in terms of, maybe it's not specifically Lewy body, I can imagine it might just be dementia, but if there's much going on at present in that terms of that sort of research.
So I'll just add, the Lewy Body Society in collaboration with Alison Killen, who I think is in the audience here, who works with me, did an interesting survey. And again, it's sort of overlapping similar themes coming out of what carers were facing and family members, and feelings of isolation, lack of understanding that certain symptoms were associated with the condition. And out of that, we're thinking about developing information and support groups specific for people who have got the condition, plus also their families, to really understand more, and to also provide that almost peer support as well. So we're actually hopefully going to take that forward here in Newcastle, which then could be a model which could be extended out to other NHS practices. So that's one positive in that direction. I don't know, Claire, if you've got anything.
Tend to be more dementia, so I'm working on a project that's looking at improving end-of-life care, but it's not specifically looking at Lewy body dementia, it's all types of dementia.
Okay. It's very difficult to get funders to pay for these kinds of studies, as you know. So So we tend to extrapolate from what little literature there is. So something like cognitive stimulation therapy that probably quite a few people here will be familiar with and maybe use. I think that's probably one of the better established non-pharmacological treatments. It might work even better or not at all in DLB, but we don't know because nobody's ever tried it. And there are big omissions, but trying to persuade a funder of that is quite hard work. That doesn't mean we shouldn't do it. Something like Tai Chi might be really good for DLB. People have got cognitive and physical and balance and movement issues. So again, you can imagine you're just trying to take two things along to a funder to persuade them to do it, and they say, the methodology is not good enough and we don't believe this exists and it's not going to work. And I think we are beginning to make progress, actually. Funders are realising, aren't they, that there's a need and a desire for people to have these kind of treatments and some evidence. So if you're interested, yeah.
I think when something is challenging, which dementia with Lewy bodies is, that's when we need imagination, we need creative ideas, we need people to join sectors together and try different things, and we need to take our funders and our commissioners with us with that. And a fundamental part of that is having some evidence from another sector which we might be able to apply to another one. So I think that's a message to us all, really, to try and connect together as much as possible, because who knows what is possible if we can just sort of open up imaginations to what's possible. Absolutely. And I think it is important to remember that, 40, 50 years ago, this was an unknown condition. We have made huge progress over the last 40 years, the last 10 years especially. John outlined what might be possible in the next 10 years. And Jim is right, that it is about opening up our minds to big data, to the power of citizen engagement. A lot of the solutions are locked in the experience of people who've lived with this condition for many, many years. And we know that, but we need creative and imaginative ways to harness that. We will look at that going forward. And I think in this room, with the work of the Lewy Body Society, working with partners such as Newcastle University and others, there is so much we can achieve in the next 10 years. So I think we should be very, very positive. There is work to do. Certainly, I think what I take from today is that the advances in research, in scanning technology, in our understanding of the experience is really, really significant. But certainly we have more to do. But I think we should be very positive about ensuring that we can continue to invest in dementia research, invest in new research, new areas, and who knows what is possible in the next 10 years. So I want to thank you all for coming today. A big thank you to our speakers. I've thoroughly enjoyed learning about some of the exciting research that's ongoing, new trends and what's new to come in the future. And I do appreciate you giving your time and expertise to share with us today. Particular thanks to the Lewy Body Society trustees for joining us today, to Ian, to Jackie as well for their presentations and help in putting together today's event. Today's event is one of many. We look forward to holding this event again next year, but in between times to working with many of you in this room to think about how we can do just what Jim said, to take forward creative and imaginative ways with the end point of better research, more research to understand the experience of dementia with Lewy bodies, and better services and support to support the families living with it. So thank you so much for coming today. Keep in touch, and I wish you all a safe and pleasant onward journey. Thank you.